Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer. That means it's time for another episode of Warhammer Weekly. So, as you can see, I'm on the road. Here we are traveling again, but that's all right. As always, we're not going to let that stop you or stop us from bringing some show. It's showtime. I'm very tired. It's been a long day. Hey, Tom, how you doing, buddy?
Hello, friends. How's it going?
Before
Yeah,
the
I'm
show,
tired
Tom,
too.
you and I were discussing how you're sick and I've been up for like 20 plus hours on 2 hours of sleep. So we are just teed up for an A+ show here.
Yeah, it's gonna be terrible.
Dude, you better get better in the next 2 days. Like, what? How are you gonna get sick right before Holy
I don't. Yeah, I know. It's terrible.
I don't want your gross, disgusting germs all in the car with me.
It's gonna be
That's not
awesome.
cool.
I'm gonna drive with you for like 5 hours and just cough on you the entire way.
I may have to call off going to this tournament, but I think we have a news item. Let's just get right into it. Take it away, because that can be the lead-off news item.
I am so no. Let's stop here. Let's acknowledge the blessing that I've received from Papa Nurgle.
Gross.
He has gifted me so that I can gift others with disease and sickness this weekend at Holy Havoc. So hey everybody, I'm bringing gifts.
You're really going all in theme for your army.
I am like, this is a narrative event. I'm in. Let's do this. It's going to be fantastic. So I am being interrupted.
I see that.
I'm sorry. I gotta pull this one up. Sorry. Okay. I'm being assaulted. Okay. Back on show. Back on target. See, this is the type of show we bring you guys. Okay. So
what's coming?
So the big news this week is Rufio, who is 2d6 or 2 dice.
6 dice skills. Let me help you out.
Sorry.
There. 6 dice skills. There you go. All right. Well, he's dealing with. There you go.
Sorry. Yes. He 6 dice skills on Twitter is coming to Adepticon. It sounds like it was announced that GW is sending him and maybe somebody else out to Adepticon.
Yes, correct. There's going to be GW presence at Adepticon. Now, for people who don't know who Rufio is, let's talk about who he is, because we all might have watched a video where a certain Magnus the Red, people in the UK right now, he's very well, but for a lot of the US people, perhaps not as much. But they were there where they revealed the painted Magnus the Red, right? He's that guy. He wasn't the one in the bin. He was the other one walking down the hallway. There you go. So
yeah, he was the host of that video of, hey, look what we found. Yeah. So this is just another kind of in alignment with what we've seen GW doing with, plugging in and engaging the community, which is exciting. Like, I'd be interested to see what other events this next year that they're planning on sending people. Obviously not small events like any of the small GTs or anything like that, but like there's other big events coming, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to, like, all at once, they kind of announced the early part, like they're going to show up for.
Yeah.
So they added, like, obviously we knew the Las Vegas Open, they added Adepticon, they added Blood and Glory in the UK, and there was one other tournament. But they like very quickly said, here's these 4, we're going to have people there, there's going to be probably prize support. In fact, I'm sure there's prize support. So, they're that's pretty awesome. I mean, that's obviously one of the big barriers for TOs is price support is a major cost and all that. So to have them helping out and supplying some of that while still seemingly saying run the event however you want, right?
Yeah.
We're just there to help you. Is pretty great. It's not them showing up and taking over the events, right?
Right. They're supplementing what's already there, which is a win. I mean, that's fantastic. That's the type of thing we want to see. Other rumors. We're really rumor light this week, unsurprisingly. News and rumor light, for that matter. One of the rumors that I saw kind of crop up again that we've heard kind of echo around multiple times is this idea of deluxe starter boxes, like the getting starter boxes, but something in between, like the full army, like King Valescue's, Ghoulish Horde or whatever, or Undead Court or whatever his was, like something between that and like the current getting started boxes as kind of like a deluxe getting started box. So what do you think about that, Vince?
So are we talking? Well, first of all, let's price chart this out. The big ones were what, 145 or something, 150?
Yeah. So like the 100 to like 125 pounds is what they were talking about. Like is what the rumor is somewhere in like the $150, $125, $150 mark for GW. And
so isn't that the same size as the big ones?
Say what?
Isn't that the same cost as the big ones? Or how much?
The big ones were 175 USD. Or 225. Yeah. And most of the boxes that we've seen have a retail or have a savings are between 33 and 50% for the getting started boxes. So you can expect if we're looking at like the 100 to 150 mark, we're looking at like 180 maybe to 220, something like that. Depending upon like that's the wide range of possibilities. Obviously, that's aiming at like either a big discount or a lower discount at a higher price point.
Sure. I mean, I think I would be if they were somewhere around the 125 mark and they were more set to be 1,000 points, because like the actual points in them tended to vary a little, quite a bit, right? In the actual getting started that exists right now. Yeah. So I think if they had them more, somewhere in like the 125 range and 125, 135, somewhere like that.
Yeah.
And they were more or less pinned to being like your first 1,000 points.
Yeah, I don't think they'd be able to pull that.
I mean, some of them were very close to that already. Like some of them had a fair amount of points in them, 500, 600, 700, originally, right?
No, almost all of them. The high one was 620 some point, like 640 points. Nothing was over 600 and some.
Okay, sure. Okay. So but let's say it's 600. So you need to get up to
you'd have to add in a bunch more like ground troops. And so you're just getting a bunch more junk.
Maybe. I mean, you could add like, it could be as simple as another foot unit and another monster or something mid-size, right? Like to get up to that range. I'm not saying it has to be exact, but if it's in the area, I think that's a good idea. If it's something that puts people on an obvious path of their first 1,000 points, and it's at a reasonable price point, that's a good start. That's what the point is, right?
I would push back, and I don't think that that's the way they're going to go. I think that what they're going to do is these are going to be the deluxe kits that are not going to overlap with the other getting started boxes. And so what I think we're going to see is we're going to see the armies that we don't already have. Those particularly that have like price points within the faction that couldn't, or like the price points that they couldn't fit into an $85 box. So for example,
give me an example.
I think that we'll see a Rotbringer starter box. Okay. And the Rotbringer starter box might be a Magath Lord. Okay. And like a set of Blight Kings. Or two sets of like a Magath Lord and two sets of Blight Kings. Because that would give, that's about that price range, because there's no other Rotbringer's troops that are ground troops. Like you could mix in other Slaves of Darkness stuff, but there's not really anything else in Rotbringers. You might be able to do like a Blight Kings and like a Plague Drones if you like featured Bloab on the front. Like he has a battalion that merges that. If you did Morbidex, you could do like some Blight Kings and throw in some Nurglings. Sure. If you do 2 boxes of night,
I mean, they've put Finecast characters in there before, so they could into these boxes. Yeah, like if you think of the big tree person box, it had a Finecast character in it.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
So
they could ruled out Finecast.
Yeah, I mean they've still got them around, and clearly they're still willing to sell them, and some of the laters aren't as bad. Like, I mean, I did up the Branch Wraith or Witch, whichever one was the Finecast one. And she was fine. Like, there was no, it wasn't a big pain. It was more or less a resin model. I've had Nightmare Finecast, of course. We all have.
Yeah.
But my point is that they could also have like the Lord of, not the Lord of Plagues, but whatever the mounted Finecast Nurgle hero is. What's his name? Oh,
the Lord of Decay. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. Like, so, but what I'm imagining is I'm imagining some of the larger centerpiece, and a lot of those larger centerpiece models that aren't like the big named. those multi-buy
Yeah,
ones,
sure.
like the Mortark. Like the Mortark fit into the lower box one because it was just a bunch of junk skeletons.
Sure.
I mean, that's what it was, as opposed to like the Magath Lord, you don't have a bunch of other low stuff that you can throw in there easily. But like the Fire Slayers would be another low hanging fruit. Throw because you're getting both the monster and you're getting a hero on foot with the Magmadroth.
Yeah.
And then you throw like a box of Volkites and then a box of like the Auric, like the 5 and the 10 troop box. You get about 16, 17 troops. 2 heroes. That seems like that would be a good, like a good Fire Slayer intro box. They don't have a Fire Slayer getting started box.
Yep.
Other like Flesh Eater Courts, you could throw the Terrorgeist. You could throw some ghouls in there. Throw some of the bigger like the dread, or not dread ghouls, whatever they're called.
The various courtiers, your
the
Varbles or your
courtiers.
Cryptors or stuff like that.
Yeah, the Daughters of Cain would be another one. Like Throne of so you could do like a Cauldron of Blood, a couple boxes, and like 2 boxes of Witch Elves, and you get another foot character in the Throne of Blood, or the Cauldron of Blood. So
Right.
So again, you're playing in this kind of same space where most of the troops in these factions are more expensive, but it ends up being about the same number of troops.
Yeah, I mean, my thought on it is I don't dislike your idea, okay? And I think that's interesting. It could be, to me, you go, there's sort of a couple, I got to think about like, what's the broad theme? Like they've got to have some kind of strategy.
Yeah.
Right. So if we're talking about a more expensive, but larger value, hopefully, getting started, then I think then to me, you go one of 2 directions. Either, like I said, you try to do like a full 1,000 points, which wouldn't necessarily have to overlap with the existing stuff.
Yeah.
Right. They could make them so that you could put the 2 together and they're harmonious. Yeah. Right. Now that being said, that to me would make sense as a marketing strategy. I also think your way is good because right now they might not be selling as many of the new armies, right? That don't have a good getting started box because because a new player is like, well, I want to play that, but I don't even know where to begin. And how often do you see in like the Facebook groups or on TGA, I see this question. Dude, I see this question all the time. Like once a day, at least, somebody saying, I'm just getting started, or I want to do this army, but I don't know where to start. Like, how often does that come up?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
All the time. So people aren't going to be like, but having those boxes is an easy on-ramp. So if they were able to touch the rest of the factions, which is basically what you're saying, right, that they didn't previously have a box for, I think that would be a good move. And frankly, I don't think anybody would really complain. Sure, but a bunch of Fire Slayers at a discount? Yeah, I mean, okay, great.
Yeah.
Fine.
No, but just to go back to your 1,000 points, like I'm thinking about like the Pestilent box, like the Clan Pestilence, like the army that was like 175. That was like a Corruptor, like a Cannon, like 40 Plague Monks, a Furnace, and like 5 Censer Bearers maybe, and a Priest. Like that's
I don't think there were any Censer Bearers in there. I think there was just go ahead.
Anyways,
the Censer Bearers
are the Censer Bearers the Finecast ones?
I don't even know if they ever got remade in Finecast. I think they remained metal forever.
Oh, okay, never mind. Whatever the Finecast ones are that aren't the Plague Monks.
Gotcha. Okay.
And like there was like 5 of those. Anyways, that's not 1,000 points, and that's the 175 Pestilence army. Like $175. And so like that's an example where like 1,000 points really is a larger force unless you have a big monster eating up points.
Well, didn't it have a Vermin Lord in it?
Yeah, the Vermin Lords are only like 240 or 360.
Yeah, I mean he's fairly expensive. I don't know. I'd have to total it all up. It can't be that far off.
No, like it would be like, if it is 1,000, it's just over 1,000. I can't imagine that it's a lot more.
Sure. No,
but so, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I think they're gonna. My personal vote is I think they're gonna touch the other factions. So I think we could see like a Daughters of Cain. I think we could see a Phoenix Temple, because the Phoenix, you get an anointed on foot in the Phoenix box, so you get 2 heroes that way, and then 3 boxes of Phoenix Guard.
I don't know. I think you're crazy on the elf stuff. I really do. I don't think you're going to see any big deals, but who knows? Maybe not.
What I would say is like with the elves, like those were just obvious things, but they're all plastic kits. They're fairly they're fairly current ranges. That
here's what I'll say: it would be a good idea to do it if they still had a lot around.
Yeah.
And knew that that in 2017 they were going to release new elves. If that was going to be the case, like there were going to be new factions of elves introduced in 2017, then to me that would make it more likely that you do a box like you're describing, because it'd be a great way to actually recognize some value. Like it's a win-win for everybody. We finally get those witch elves and that kind of stuff at a relatively reasonable cost.
Yeah.
And they get to get rid of product that's just sitting around, right? So
yeah, and I mean, to me, that's like, as we need to wrap this up, but like this, well, you know, we're just talking at this point. We're not actually like.
All right, we've gone into theory town here.
Yeah, yeah.
All of this is important prediction that we can mark and come back to later to see how wrong we are. That's what's important.
Absolutely. No, what I would say though is that like that's all stuff sitting on shelves. And so like one of the strengths for them of the getting started boxes is they can pull, repackage in these other bundles and move product that's already made. And so I have to imagine that things like, oh, by the way, I take that back. So not only on the Cauldron of Blood, so I am certain that the Cauldron of Blood is probably going to be one of those. So that
wow, we've gone up from a chance to certain. All right.
Okay, because all they have to do is box the Cauldron with 2 sets of Witch Elves. You can choose between Witch Elves or Sisters of Slaughter as those units. And then out of the Cauldron, you not only get a Cauldron, you get a Death Hag on foot, and you get the Medusa on foot.
Right.
So, like, for them, like, there's a ton of value for players. You're getting a bunch of units that are all in faction. Like, all of those are in the same sub-faction.
Right.
Yeah. It just seems like low-hanging fruit. But I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell. And let me just say this. Out of all the elf factions, if there are any elf factions that are likely to be continued, to me, it would be Daughters of Cain. Both from the model standpoint, it's one of the most robust sub-factions we have. And it's
also very popular.
And it's very popular. And it fits with it could fit with like the Shadow Plane, you know, the Shadow Elves or whatever. And then we've already had mention of the Phoenix Temple. So, yeah. Anyways, so those are the guesses for the.
No, that's fair. To me, the Phoenix Temple is a foregone conclusion that they will do something with it eventually. I don't know when that is, but they're not dropping these discussions of like having a Phoenix Temple about all this in the narratives. If we're not going to just do nothing with it, just let that lie fallow forever.
Yeah, like I could even imagine like a Clan Skyer box as well. Like 2 sets of Storm Fiends, which are battle line, a Warp Lightning Cannon, a Doom Wheel, and an Arch Warlock.
Sure.
Like, and again, you're right in that price point. You're right at the right models. You feel like you get a bunch of value because you get a bunch of big stuff. Yeah, I don't know.
Yes. We don't have to mention how the Doom Wheel is not very good anymore, but that's fine.
Yeah, well, they need to move those models. Like, that's the point. Like, that's all new plastic.
Sure.
That's all pretty looking. So throw it in a box. And,
sure.
Yeah.
So what other news? Oh, Thomas coughing.
Sorry.
There you go. All right. So what other news did we have?
It doesn't look like we're going to have a major AOS release before the end of the year.
I would assume that's true.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've got, the Blood Bowl stuff is really just all over the place right now. Yeah. I saw everybody is doing a review of Blood Bowl. Like Tyler Mingle's got he's doing a 2-part review. He's got his first part up right now. I'm seeing a lot of people painting their initial Blood Bowl minis. I've got to admit, a lot of it looks really cool. I do love the look of like the Skaven team that I saw. And what's funny about the Skaven team is they don't I would just use those as gutter runners or something. Like they look perfectly fine to me as just regular troops.
I was looking at
Go ahead.
I was looking at the orcs and I was like, man, those kind of just look like pugilist, like brawler orcs. I was like, a little bit of modification, and I'll bet I could proxy this for another orc unit.
Yeah, some of them look way more like football players than others. Like the humans, right, who have the more like football helmetish guys, football-y. But like the Skaven are more or less wearing Skaven helmets, right? Like they didn't get new helmets with weird like super long face masks around the front of their nose. It's still just a helmet. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. true.
There's one. Let me point out one fun aesthetic change that's happened with Skaven lately that I really love.
Yeah.
And this has been an ongoing thing. So you talk about model creep or whatever, Tom, your nonsense about scale creep.
Yes.
Let's forget scale creep and let's talk about tail creep. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So if you go back to like the late 90s monkey face Skaven, they had these bitty little pigtails that you would glue on separately. Like they had
I still have a bunch laying around fine on the floor all the time.
Mm-hmm. And then as you move along, when you got into the newer kits, they were a little bit bigger, a little bit pointier, like they would wrap up a little farther. They wouldn't just be the little curly cute piggies. They would like come up a little farther. And then you go to like the Vermin Lord who's got his special super long tail, but then even like the Death Master. Correct, the Death Master in the Silver Tower, who's got
that
like
dude is sporting.
Super tail.
Yeah, he has some some length.
He does, and the Blood Bowl Skaven also similarly have these like hyper long tails, and I'm all about it. It looks so much better. Like rats really do have really really long tails, as a point of fact. You know what I mean? And I think the models look so much cooler with their big tail like sweeping out behind them. So forget scale creep. It's time for tail creep. There you go, and I support it.
Absolutely. As some final things, there's not a lot. So some of the Lake Town, like the Middle Earth stuff dropped this last week.
Yeah.
And the Lake Town houses are like 25 pounds and they look fantastic. And they're really like modular. So like, man, that's asking for some more time. So
it really is. It's just great terrain if that's the kind of setting you like. If you want that sort of like fantasy feel village kind of thing on your table. Or if you're playing Mordheim. I mean, it's like, I was shocked actually at like, they're quite reasonably priced.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're an absolute steal, but they're better than I was expecting. I'll say that.
Especially from Forge World. Like that's coming from Forge World.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I was thinking we were going to be paying through the nose for these. And so for those kind of cool old world, as you mentioned, modular buildings, yeah. Not to mention the fact that they dropped basically an army of dwarves too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and some of those dwarves could absolutely be
old world.
Old world replacements for your dwarves. Like if you never liked the aesthetic of some of the dwarven warrior units or Longbeards or Ironbreakers, there was plenty of stand-ins. Like those guys with the big heavy shields. When I looked at those guys, I was like, those would be easy replacement Ironbreakers or something if you wanted.
Yeah, and you know what makes me excited about that is that because they're handling specialist games, I'm like, man, if they can do this for Lake Town, like we're just a hop, skip, and a jump away from having modular Mordheim buildings that they're going to put out.
Ain't that the truth, buddy? Like you still see the original crappy cardboard Mordheim buildings. Like people still like want those and go after those. You know what I'm talking about? The little like fold up cardboard.
I looked at an auction the other day. And it was under 50, and it was all the Mordheim buildings plus the Blood in the Streets expansion Mordheim building. And I was like, I don't know. I still use my Mordheim buildings. I could maybe use another set.
They show up on my table all the time still too. And I'm like, but you're right. It's the sort of thing where, to me, the fact that like this release with this Hobbit stuff, I mean, they didn't really need the Lake Town houses. No. It's a neat tie-in, right? But there was nothing about
the game that demands it.
Yeah, is Mordheim. So if they can do this for a game that doesn't even really need to get, what are we going to get when we do get the Mordheim game? Because I mean, it's coming. There's no doubt about it. I can't wait, man. I think we're going to see some mind-bogglingly awesome ruined buildings.
You know what I want to see with that? Like, so you know how like they've done Realm of Battle tiles for like 40K and even for Warhammer Fantasy at the point in time. With the new push of like Realm of Battle stuff, like I wonder if we're gonna see like a set of 4 Mordheim tiles.
Oh sure.
When they finally
pull like
that trigger as the base board, as you know, like streets and gutters and all that, which is mostly just going to be like flagstone tiles. Like you know that's a fairly easy sculpt. And they could maybe have some canals and stuff like that, and then just build your buildings up from there.
Yeah, you just put your buildings on top of them. You wouldn't even need to necessarily, Like they could even have you to put different buildings, move them around, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
I like that idea, and I've got to say that just seems like an auto win.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because you could still use it because the buildings wouldn't be necessarily attached.
Yep.
You could still use those tiles integrated with your normal Realm of Battle tiles as well, right? So come on, make that happen. I want to see that happen.
Like, how amazing would that be?
It would be totally amazing. You blew my mind right there. I had never actually thought about that as a thing, but you actually made me excited about a Realm of Battle tile, which is something I have never been interested in.
Yeah. I mean,
ever.
if you could just, if you could fork out cash once and have a Mordheim 4x4 table.
Sure. I mean, the reason I never cared much for Realm Battle tiles because no matter what, they were always fairly uninteresting because they're like flat, kind of wavy hills with some terrain, and there's like cracks and some skulls in a pool or something, right? Like, who cares? The MDF, it's not interesting. Now, yes, I could, but like I've seen the effort it takes to make a good urban sprawl. Maroc did it, and he bought 60 pounds of plaster and cast a city. I'm never going to be that guy, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So that does actually cross into somewhere interesting. All right, yeah, there you go. Make it happen, GW.
Make it happen.
I'm talking to you. Make this idea happen. This is too good. I don't have the market research to back it up, but the market research of this particular cast is 100% in favor of it. So there you go.
Yep.
100% yes. There you go.
I would buy one on pre-order. I just would. Like, sure. if I could get a 4-tile Mordheim table, maybe with some canals.
Immediately, you would get it. Is what you're saying.
Yeah. Like I've thought about there's no question about it. Yes, I would buy like a city table like that out of the gate. Sure. I would probably buy a Realm of Battle board from GW if they did something city-wise, like Broken Flagstones, like Ruin City stuff. But it doesn't matter who. One of you two make it happen.
Right. Yeah. I'm just saying, when I say GW, I mean the larger entity, whether it's under Forge World or Games Workshop.
Yeah. Because I mean, they did it for like Sector Imperious or whatever for the 40K stuff. There's no reason why they don't pull the trigger here. So
absolutely. All right. Do we want to move on to some pick of the week, or do we have anything else?
Yeah. I mean, we have Holy Havoc this weekend, and that's kind of a big deal.
That you've gotten sick for like a genius.
Say what?
That you've gotten sick for like a genius. I'm not thrilled about this. I didn't even think about it until before the show. Awful. You're awful. Hey, you're an awful person.
I'm bringing gifts.
You need to go to sleep from now until Friday.
I can't do that. I have classes to teach tomorrow and some midterms to administer, and like it's not happening.
Take a sick day. Eat lots of chicken soup. You better be drinking fluids. You better just be, I want to see an IV. There better be an IV off camera with saline dripping into your arm. What I'm saying. I do not want to be sick from your grossness. Keep your nurgleness away from me. But yes, we're going to Havoc this weekend. It should be good. Be fun.
We might do some live casting. That might happen. I'm not promising anything.
I'll try to take pictures so we can battle report our games. That should be fun.
Yeah. I thought about.
I can just let Tom play the game. That way I can take pictures. I'll be like, Tom, move the troops around. I'm busy taking pictures. You play.
So that you're not responsible for anything that happens in the game.
Yeah, exactly. When we lose, I can be like, Tom, why do you suck so much? I was just taking pictures.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. So we will be doing some. Sorry. We will be doing some battle reporting and whatnot, and then Beasts of War are also going to be live blogging the event, and so we invite you to come see. And a number of members of the community are also going to be there. Hooves of Doom and his wife are going to be there. Stone Monk Gamer.
From the Mortal Realms podcast. Kenny Lowell from Combat Phase will be there. Yeah, it's going to be a good time.
Yeah. So Tyler Emerson is going to be there. Is Tyler going to be there?
I don't know. I don't remember off the top of my head. I don't remember the whole. I'm sorry, I don't remember all like 80 people that are participating off the top of my head.
There's 20.
But I think
yes.
Tyler is going to be there. I think he's.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's the news.
There you go. Pick of the week. Go first, Tom. Take that. You don't have one. You didn't think about it. You forgot this whole time. You've had all this time to think about it, and you're a terrible person. Well, I'm going to help you because I do have one.
Go ahead and do yours.
I do have one. All right. So my pick of the week is an awesome video from the aforementioned Hooves of Doom.
Yes.
And it's on the Malus Maleficus or something. Maleficent. I don't really know. It's on a book that was written by a Catholic about witches or burning witches or hammer of the witches or something. It's really cool. And it's this like real thing from history that, you know, was like obviously of questionable and perhaps dubious moral authority, but it ends up getting used in like 40K and stuff as a reference point, and they sort of borrow some of what it's going at. And so Hooves walks you through the real historical text, as it were, and then sort of takes you over into the game and how they used it and translated it. It's super cool. I love it when he does stuff like that. Hooves obviously has a great fascination with history. And so this is sort of an examination of this very strange thing that even though it was very quickly denounced by the church, ended up being kind of stuck around. It was like a bad penny for a long time. And so then GW picked it up and used it as sort of a sprinkle of lore for the 40K universe, and also for some in fantasy too, with like the references to it in the Witch Hunters and stuff like that. So, very cool. All right, Tom, have I bought you enough time?
Yeah. I wasn't sure if you like. Okay, so I'll just do it this way. I'm gonna do some shameless self promotion.
Okay.
For my pick of the week, because I don't promote myself very often. Because I don't put out a lot of content. I am not generally as much of a content producer as others in this channel right now. But what I would say is I am starting to a blog on TGA. And so I have a couple posts in, and so I want to encourage you guys to come check it out. So I will often, I'll post updates, like painting log updates. I'm going to post, probably start conversations about tactics. When I see news and rumors, oftentimes I'm going to post news and rumors as they happen there, and we'll still report them throughout the week. But I'm going to kind of collate some of that data on that blog as well. My army pictures, so my current forces, my Nurgle stuff, and then also my old Spider Fang, my force grots are there as well, and yeah, so it's on TGA, and it's Tom's Hobby Corner.
Excellent. I'll link it down there.
Yeah.
So Tom, what about your hobby time, man? Our final pre-Havoc hobby time update. What do you got?
Well, I have a base left to do. Like
a base
right here. That's it. Like working on a base.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, I still need to add like a bunch of like tufts of grass to all of my bases. So that's not actually true. But like that's just like a little bit of gluing here and there. Everything else is basically done. And I feel pretty good about it. I posted it on AOS Fans, the Facebook page. Like I said, I posted it to TGA, a bunch of the photos. I can pull some of it up here and just show off some of my photos.
You know, searching for this is like super thrilling, internet. I just want to point that out.
I aim to give a great experience. So you guys are going to get a glance.
Us watching you stare at your screen is like pretty much top quality entertainment.
Absolutely. You guys are actually going to get a glimpse of my blog. Here you go. Boom, right there. Okay. So can you guys see that?
Yes, we can.
So that's my whole force, or most of my force. I'm still missing a model, one of the models I'm working on the base for here, but there's my Glotkin. There is my Bloab. There is my converted War Shrine with my Chaos Sorcerer from Hero Quest.
Hero Quest, yeah.
Yep. There's my Harbinger of Decay proxy. Then we have some Blight Kings. We have some more Blight Kings. We have some Chaos Warriors. There's my Hell Cannon. Yeah, there we go. So
yay!
Hey, I'm done. I did it.
You did it, Tom, and no one's more proud of you than me. Way to go, buddy. Way to go.
Thanks.
I'm glad we're not bringing any just like randomly maybe kind of airbrushed models. That's good.
yeah, no, like everything has like every part of every model's been touched at least I think 5 times with a brush.
Good. It's good. I like where your head's at.
That's a start. Yeah.
All right.
So how about you?
Hobby time, yeah. So obviously I was done with everything for Havoc as far as the army goes. I spent this week working on severely unimpressive display board because I hate display boards, and also this is a train wreck of a display board since it has to encapsulate the vast forces of chaos onto a single coherent board, including
which all have different basing schemes.
Right, Nurgle and Tzeentch and Steven and a random corn model. Like during the Everchosen, he unites everyone, but unfortunately, he didn't unite their basing scheme. So that'll be fun to fit all that and to make it all look like that.
So you have images of it on your computer?
I do not. I do not. Look, I'm on the road. What do you want, man? What do you get? And I paint another Doom Bull, my 4th Doom Bull. I'm very excited about him. He's the he's the big Minotaur demon from Bones, and he's basically done. I just need to finish up his base when I get home. So I'll probably knock him out before I head off to Havoc over the weekend. There you go. All right. So let's move on to some feature segments. And I thought this was fun, Tom. Since it was just you and I, it occurred to me that we had not discussed the special characters yet post the drop of the General's Handbook, right? So what do I mean here? So everybody who has their General's Handbook, you know that in the back of it, you got the 4 sections of, order and chaos and destruction and death. Then you got this other section, the compendium. And in the compendium are all the quote-unquote retired things or whatever, right? So that's where, like the Tomb Kings and the Bretonnians. But there's also relics, mainly like it's littered with the special characters of the old world who died in that apocalypse, right?
There's very few full factions back there, or playable factions.
Right. And so to me is that like in starting to dig more with these, I will admit when the General's Handbook came out, I really focused in on like the main 4 and the sort of groupings that they offered, right? And then as recently, I've started digging more into like the special characters, and some of them are really kind of funny or strange, or they have different abilities. And when you add points into the mix and they get sort of an ascribed value, things can get very interesting. So I thought we'd return to the special characters and do a little best and worst of the special characters in the compendium. Basically, we're going to dig down into the dirt. We're going to pull these corpses up from the old world, and we're going to see if they're worth casting a resurrection spell on, or whether we throw this one back into the ash bin of history where it belongs. So there you go. All right, Tom, I'm going to let you start this off. I figure let's do like, maybe 3 each of our favorites and goods and bads, if you've got 3 of each of them.
So anything from, let me ask it this way. Do the new Forge, do the Forge World points count for the compendiums?
What, is there a particular reference here?
Yeah, so like the Tamerkan stuff, or the Legion of Asgore stuff, or like, do they count in this?
I don't think they're in the compendium.
Okay.
Thing.
Okay.
So
I'm going to do a winner. I'm going to start, and I'm going to do a winner in the most unlikely of places.
Oh, I'm excited.
Our good old buddy, the Herald of Archeon, Crom. So you look at Crom, and you're like,
I looked at Crom. Tell me on Crom. Why do you like?
you're getting really quiet.
Sorry, sell me on Crom. Why do you like Crom?
So, Crom is a really interesting so at first I looked at him and I'm like, dumb. Like I was not interested in I just started looking through it and I'm just like, this guy has like terrible written all over him. He's like a foot guy, his defensive ability is dumb. Like it's and then I started looking at and like that's when I pulled out the points and I began looking at his point value. So he's 80 points for a hero. He's only a 5 wound hero, which is kind of the standard kind of foot hero. And he doesn't have a lot of very good attacks, so he's not an offensive. So I began thinking like, well, what about as a utility character? And he has a very special ability specifically for when used with Archeon. And let me pull up the stats real quick because we're talking.
Yeah, I have him up. So
okay, can you guys see that?
There you go. Okay. Yep.
Okay.
You're sharing.
Yeah, so he's a 5 wound. He's a 3-up save. So I mean, he has a little bit of survivability, but most of his stuff is pretty junk. If he gets a +1 to hit when attacking heroes, but is like he has junk attacks. It's just not real good. His defensive stance, again, like I was not impressed. But when I looked at it, it dawned on me that this Herald of the Everchosen ability. So you're going to field him with Archeon, okay? With either Archeon, doesn't matter, because Archeon it's the same keyword. And what he does is that he uses the ability, and enemy units within 15 inches of him basically get -1 if you're going to field him with Archeon, so -2 to their bravery. And you're like, okay, well that's kind of good.
Sure.
Archeon himself adjusts bravery in the battle shock phase by 2, up or down. So now you're swinging bravery by 4. And there are a number of other chaos things that also will swing bravery. What's his face? The Glotkin swings bravery by 2, I believe, as well. I think the Chaos War Mammoth can also swing swing bravery by 2.
Okay.
And so suddenly, like, just having a couple of these models like traveling in the same area can swing. And again, he's only 80 points, so it's not like you have to build towards this guy. You throw him in near the end. He's a fairly survivable foot hero. Now he's going to have problems keeping up with Archeon. There's no question about that. He's going to spend most of his time running across the battlefield.
That being said, his bubble is fairly large.
Yeah, it's a 15-inch bubble. So, I looked at him and I was like, I think I would actually field him. Specifically in one of this like really grotesque debuffing things. And then like Glotkin, for example, does does a debuff, like a - to hit debuff from his like bravery check. He forces like a bravery check upon the opponents where these people are playing with those numbers. And there are other things that are doing this within Chaos.
Sure. I mean, notably, this bravery hit is only during the battle shock phase, right? So
yes,
it's not
then that's true. Yeah.
Other times.
It's not going to swing. It's not going to swing the Glotkins, but it would potentially swing some of the other abilities.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. I like he does synergize with Archeon because Archeon would let him use this command ability, right? Like normally you couldn't get both bites at the apple, but obviously Archeon's ability to activate other heroes' command abilities makes it still usable. And I mean, you're right. At 80 points, it's fine. He's a relatively minimal investment. But boy, like this guy is a piece. Other than that, right? Like,
no, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I say an unlikely place is where I'm going to start, because you're right. Like, sure. He is like when I first glanced at him, I'm like, well, you can throw this guy away, and then I realized that like he's doing something that stacks with what other people are doing. And he's a minimal investment. I think that he could be playable in an Archeon force, is what I would say. All right. The same cannot be said of many other models within the compendium pages.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, we're going to get to plenty of worsts, and boy, there are some not great ones in here. If you want to just keep sort of up, I'll bring it to myself or mine. If you want to then grab the scroll and share it, because obviously I can't on my screen right now.
Yeah, I have all of the scrolls easily accessible.
Okay. All right. So let me. Anything else to say about Crom? Well, let me say this about Crom before we leave him behind.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't hate that strategy you're proposing, but it is immediately shut off by a lot of other, like that is a rock with a hard piece of paper sitting out there. Namely things that make large swaths of the army immune to battle.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Of which there is no small amount.
Yep.
Not just the simple, like, every general can make one unit, and so that unit doesn't care about anything that you just described. But there are like many, many heroes and lords and banner, what I would say, like characters and banners and crap. All these people don't care about battle shock anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it's true. It's true.
So, that's
but
a bad
again,
time
this is an 80-point investment for this trick.
Sure. I'm with that. I'm just saying it. To me, it feels like you could really gild the lily here in a bad way, right?
Yeah.
Like I feel like if you're, to me, it's more like if you're taking Archaon, if your strategy already included Archaon, whether on Dorgar or whether on big mutated Dorgar or old school Dorgar, then why not throw in Grom too, right? Because it has a wonderful synergy and he's relatively cheap. He's more of just like a fun extra combo that you'll suddenly have access to tip some battles in your favor, rather than a build around strategy.
Yeah.
I think going all in with like, let's find 6 other things to crack bravery is just a skew waiting to fight you hard in the butt.
Yeah. Okay. No, I would agree with that.
Whereas as just a simple component of an already functional balanced force, that where like your opponent in those fights where like if they do have a big blanket immunity to bravery or to battle shock, who cares? Right? Okay, fine. I still had a functional force. I'm not relying on the battle shock base to win. But if they don't, a 4 swing of bravery is huge. Yeah. Right? That's massively massive. To the point where people are bleeding. Like where that really hits is those elite multi-wound models that have braveries of like 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
Bravery like 2, 3, 4, and they lose one guy, and the unit flees.
Here's the other combination: is if you're going to include a war mammoth. Which, like, some people, like, I have a war mammoth, and I plan on fielding him with Archaon. Like, I'm already looking at having those 2 models on the table at the same time.
Sure.
So Crom is a low-hanging fruit on the round that the war mammoth charges. Whatever unit it charges reduces their bravery by 2 for that next battle shock.
Gotcha.
So the war mammoth is also swinging 2 down.
All right, so let me pick up here with a winner. Okay, I'm gonna go the opposite direction. You picked a chaos hero, like a subservient chaos hero is your winner. I'm gonna pick a sort of similar order hero as mine, and that's Volkmar the Grim. Okay, old Volkmar. No, this guy's.
Is this because of the combo that we talked about this week?
No, in looking at him, I really like everything about him. Okay, so let's start with some basics. Volky on foot is 100 points. All right, so again, we're not in for a big investment here, right? About 5, he's a standard foot guy, 5 wounds, 4 up save, whatever. His attacks are dumb, and we can just ignore them, and stupid. He's a wizard, right?
Yeah. No, you're right.
No, hold on. All right, I thought you were to him. While Tom is scanning, I'll continue describing. So at 100 points, there he is. There's Volkmar. All right, his attacks are dumb and garbage, and who cares? But let's take a look at what else this guy's got going on, right? First of all, he can unbind 2 spells. All right, I like multi-unbinders. That's cool. A 4 up save isn't terrible, and anybody that heals is pretty good. He makes, he heals 1 wound every phase. That's pretty great. Anybody who makes the green bubbles flow is good, because any ability to move that number back up is solid. Okay. But then finally, it's his prayers that I really like. Most of the warrior priests have some version of this prayer, and he can do a bunch of similar ones. Okay. Actually think it's the Holy Fervor, and that's the one that we were talking about, right?
Oh yeah, that thing is
it's quite good. And keep in mind, this isn't this. It's not keyworded in any way, right? It's just you pray to Sigmar, pick actions, period, right? And you roll it on a 3-up until your next phase. That can add 1 to the unit's run, charge, and hit. And because this isn't a command ability, right?
Yep.
Or you can do the reroll hit rolls. I mean, both of these have different sorts of values, right? If you're trying to stack toward on a 6 to hit, this thing happens. That's pretty great. If you just need to hit with a lot of attacks, you've also got that option. The Shield of Faith is the one that I really couldn't care less about. I didn't like T-shirt saves in previous editions. I don't like T-shirt saves in this one. Take a walk, T-shirt save. But like, this isn't a command ability, right? Similar command abilities scattered throughout Order. This is yet another easy way to take units and ramp your Order guys up to hitting on 2s. Right?
Yeah.
It's just and the fact that it just on anything like.
Yeah. So, like, can I tease out one of the combos that I pitched to you this week?
Sure, hit me.
Okay, so this is a flat +1 to hit. So also floating around in Order is the Luminarch, who everybody knows about, is also, or I'm sorry, the Hurricanum. Hurricanum's floating around as well. It's going to add another flat +1 to hit.
To all
so
Order.
To all Order. So where this goes magical is with the Dark Elf Executioners. Okay, which is just this weird,
so insane. But go ahead. I love this combo.
Yes. Like, it's just this weird, like, like because I got to looking, I was looking for proxies for my Sisters of Sigmar that I have coming for like the TGG2 Kickstarter, and so I wanted some great sword wielders, and so I was looking through some options, and so I stumbled upon the Executioners, and then I realized, like, they are broken as hell with this combo, because what it is you get 10 for 200 points. They're swinging like twice with these great swords, maybe 3 times with these great swords. At like, no, it's twice at 3-up, -1 damage, or maybe it's 3-up, no -1, just 1 damage. But if you roll it, if you hit on a 6 or higher, you don't roll a wound, you do 2 mortal wounds instead.
Right.
So
suddenly, if Volky gets this prayer off and the Hurricanum's around on a 4-up, these guys are chopping for 2 mortal wounds each.
And they're swinging twice around.
Like, that's grotesque. Yes, I love everything about that. That is some Executioners. Like, they are lopping off heads at that point.
Like, I
This
can see 20 of these piling into the gosh. And just
murdering him. Yeah, I mean, he would explode.
Because they're hitting on 3-up, like 50% of the swings, like 20 are going to swing 40 times. You're going to get, on average, 20 of these are going to go crit, which is going to be a 40 mortal wounds. Bop.
I hope you're rolling hot on that mortal wound save there, Nagash, because 40 mortal wounds is a lot of mortal wounds.
And that's only 400 points running around the board.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty great.
So so like that, when we say that +1, that generic +1 is really good. That generic +1 is really good.
Yeah, the fact that it can just get thrown around on anything. And again, Volky on foot, 100 points for a self-healing, fairly tough, unbinding wizard buff hero.
Yep.
I love everything about this guy.
Yep.
All right. Back to you. So let's get a loser from you, Tom. What do you got in the loser category? Who's your first big loser out of here? The worst.
Where is he? I mean, I don't know. Like, there's a lot that I just was not impressed with.
Sure. I'm gonna tell me when you get to the page, so we don't have to watch you scrolling.
I'm gonna stay.
We'll keep on me for the moment.
I'm gonna stay here in Empire, though.
Oh, you better not pick mine. But go ahead.
It probably not.
Let me just say, there's a lot of bad ones. Because there were so many Empire special characters that just like a lot of them just came out weird and garbage and stuff. All right, you got your pick?
I got my pick.
All right.
Good old Kurt Helborg.
Helborg.
I just was not impressed. Like I read through them, and like he has one of the goofy, funny like rules about mustaches or whatever. So that ability's throwaway.
Yes. You know, like here's the thing. Over time, I've come like seeing how good they can explore design space without call or appeal to these goof rules has made me change my opinion on the goof rules. I don't hate them. They don't offend me in any way. Okay.
Yeah.
Like they're fine, whatever. I wish the way that they had put them in other joking fashion that didn't have like a hard mechanical effect, right? That just had like a fun reference to it and something that he did.
Yeah.
I hate that we tied real mechanics to a lot of these because all it does now is just make some of these old now that's throwaway and never get used. Right? Cool.
Yep. Yeah, and even for a mounted character, he's not real fast. Like he's on a horse, but he's a 10-inch move. And so like he's not stand out on any of his base stats like move, wounds, or save. His Laurels of Victory ability makes one additional model flee when it fails a battle shock test within 3 inches of Kurt Helborg, which is just like, this is your general. By the way. So in order to get this guy, like, you know, like get something out of this guy, he has to be your general because Order doesn't have a generic all generals can activate their command abilities. So if you're really utilizing this guy how he's designed to be used as a general, you have a 5 wound, 4-up save hero on the front lines, forcing 1 additional model to run away if they fail a battle shock. And then for his actual general ability, it's for free people only. When you can re-roll the dice when determining the charge distance, which is okay, but it would be better if it was like you could re-roll 1 dice, so that you
yeah, you could keep your good die. You don't have to scrap everything. And moreover, this ability exists on other heroes who are better.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And so it's just all redundant. And the offensive thing is he's 100 points. Like he's not even 80 points at 5 wounds, 4-up. Like Crom is running around with at least a 3-up at 80 points.
Yeah, he doesn't like when you think about 100 points and what, like, yes, it's not huge, but at the same time, how does this guy ever make his points back? Right?
Yeah. Like, so as an example, Crom is debuffing a 15-inch bubble, all bravery by 1, which is going to do the identical effect that this guy is doing.
Only bigger because it's multiple units.
Yeah, and within 3 inches, this guy.
Right.
Yeah, it's just. And then if Archeon's on the table, it goes to -2. So I just, sorry, I'm not sold on Kurt Helborg. Sorry, Kurt.
Oh, all right. Well, since you're here, you can scroll to my. We'll do a loser from the Empire here as well. I'm gonna pick old Luther Huss. That's my loser. And again, I find it to be a nice compliment to Volkmar the Grim. I like everything about Volkmar. He sort of perfectly fits his role. That is to say, like, he's a great warrior priest, unbinder, blah 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 buffer. Okay. Luther Huss up.
Yeah.
All right. Luther Huss, Prophet of Sigmar. So also 100 points. This guy's, so to put this in perspective, he's the same cost as Volkmar. Okay. Now, he can move slightly farther, right? Because he's on a horse. Okay. He can unbind 1 spell instead of 2. His attacks are similarly garbage. Like that Sigmarite Great Hammer, whatever. That's a garbage attack. 2 attacks on a 4-up, get out of here. Get out of here. With 1 damage, like that's a garbage thing. All right, so once per battle, not all the time, just once per battle, he can harness the power of Sigmar, and when he does, he makes 4 attacks with his Sigmarite Great Hammer. Whoa! Don't blow my mind, Luther, by taking your incredibly underwhelming 2 attacks and making them the slightly less underwhelming 4 attacks. Once again, yeah. And then he can pray, in the same way, right? He has the same sort of he has the same prayer thing as Volkmar. His prayers are garbage. He has all the same ability except with crappy prayers. He has the same shield, which as I mentioned on Volkmar, to me is a complete whiff and sucks. And then instead of the two good buffy, like attacky things, he can do this minimal Soulfire ability, kind of do some mortal wounds, kind of, in a very small radius around him. This is about as unimpressive as the Warrior Priest's little similarly named ability out of in Warhammer Online. Can make somebody immune to battle shock, a thing that like 80 other things in Order already do. Sweet.
Yep.
This guy is a waste, and it's a shame because he is a really cool model. Like, I have always loved Luther Huss's model. So sweet, the mounted warrior hammer over his shoulder on the horse. Like, love him. It is a real bloody shame that he is garbage. But here we are. Volkmar, yay. Luther Huss, boo. There's mine. Round 2, buddy. What do you got? What's your pick for round 2?
We're switching to good, right?
Oh, whatever you want, man. Just go however you want. Pick a winner. Mine will probably not be a good guy.
Should I go for low hanging fruit?
Sure, man. Hit it. Grab that low hanging fruit. Grab a hold of it. Rip it off the tree.
Well, since I was already going down this line, Archeon is an amazing buy. The original Archeon.
Yeah, the Archeon on horse.
Yeah, like so much so that like I wanted the model previously, and I started looking at building forces, and I was like, I checked out his stats to see if I could get him to like trigger other things because of his keyword. And I realized that like I want to field this guy normally. So I went out and bought him. Like, he's just good. He's at like 360 point or 320 points. He gets a lot of the main big abilities that he gets with, like, he loses the Dorgar flying crazy stuff, like eating heads and getting additional spells and stuff like that. But he can still cast one spell, 2 generic things. He gets a lot of the defensive stuff. He gets the Eye of Sheeran. He gets the adjust battle shock rolls up or down by 2. He gets the instant kill if he rolls wound rolls of 6 or more. Like,
yep.
And still swinging 4 attacks on that Slayer of Kings. Like, so he still has a chance of putting Nagash down in the ground in one swing, in one set of attacks, for all 320 points. And he can still activate all command abilities for Chaos units. And everything that triggers off of Archeon also, like the Varangard, triggers off of this Archeon. The battalions, the Ever-Chosen battalions, work with this Archeon.
Yeah, it's also important to note that he is differently named. Like, he has the same keyword.
Yes. Yeah.
To pull all those things because it's referencing the keyword, but he is not replaced by the Archeon Grand Marshal of the End Times or whatever.
Yep.
Yes, he is. This is Archeon the Ever-Chosen.
Yeah, and I mean, I just love everything about it. He only has 8 wounds. Like, but he's also sporting all of the keywords from let me say it this way. He's supporting all of the important keywords, and he's missing the one that matters. He loses monster.
Right.
Which makes him susceptible to a ton of abilities and attacks. There are lots of things that upgrade damage towards monsters or have special effects towards monsters. And this little one escapes that. But he keeps things like Nurgle, the Nurgle keyword that allows you to do like the Harbinger of Decay to give him a 5-up ward save, or all the healing that you get from like the Rotbringers can be leveled towards him. So even though he's only sitting at 8 wounds, there are a lot of things that actually can restore wounds to him, because he has a Nurgle keyword. The Slaanesh, like the Slaanesh Lord on Mount, can cause him to pile in and attack twice.
Yep.
So like all of the things, all of the special effects can still affect him in this form.
Yeah, it's
I
also
think
notable that in this form he's only a leader, not a leader behemoth, right? Because
yeah. Yep.
so
So I think this makes him worth that 320 points.
I mean, at 320, he's a steal, like absolute steal. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's just, he is absolutely deserving of his name, like more than maybe he ever was, as that representative of that Archaon in the old world, the Lord of the Endlands. Yeah, he was one of the ones that was on my list as well, just because he is so strong for, like, yes, he's expensive. Like 320 isn't cheap. That's not throwaway points, right?
And only 8 wounds. Like only 8 wounds is on the low side. Like certainly.
It is, but he is rocking the 3-up save.
Yep.
And he is rocking the 5/6 mortal wound.
And he's also rocking a forced reroll every round because he's going to roll a dice and match it.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
half the
it's
time
a hit
it's
and
going to be
miss.
completely worthless.
Yeah.
But yes,
it's a hit and miss. But that's an additional line of defense, and he benefits from all the things that mortal chaos followers benefit from, like the war shrines and all that stuff.
Yep. All right, so my winner number 2. You ready for this, Tom? I need you to go to this is going to be an unusual scroll. I need you to go into the old vampire counts because I'm about to hurt myself. Okay. And this pains me. What I am about to say, I want you to understand, pains my very soul. But it's Count Manfred. Okay. Count Manfred, the old version of Manfred on the steed. Okay, is fantastic. What I want you to keep in mind when we're looking through this guy is that this dude is 160 points. Okay. All right. So first of all, we can ignore that 5-inch move because obviously he's going to be on his nightmare. So his move is actually 12. Okay. What's this guy got? Well, he gets the Geist or whatever and the sickle glaive. Like he has both of those.
Yep.
So he's sporting 6 attacks, all with Rend. The glaive having a longer reach as well.
Yep.
All on 3-ups, and then D3 and 2 damage. So nothing that's 1 damage attack coming off of him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Anytime he kills anybody, like at the end of a round where he killed anybody, he heals a wound, not 1 per kill. If he did, he heals a wound. So he can't heal himself. That Armor of Templehof, though, that is the winner. The first wound or mortal wound inflicted on Manfred in each turn is absorbed and ignored.
Yeah. Because that's more often than not, in each turn, that's going to be during the hero phase. And that's going to be a magic bolt. Right. So that's going to be a mortal wound.
Yep. If he actually does inflict any wounds, not just kills people, but just inflicts wounds, right, in the combat phase, he gets 1 to his next casting or unbinding roll. Cool. I like that. He's also a wizard, right? And he can cast 2 spells. So he's a double caster wizard, right? And his particular spell, Wind of Death, is ridiculous. So it's on a casting value of 7, but remember, it's pretty easy for him to get +1 to his own casts.
Yep.
And he is also a death caster, so it's just, there's 80 million things that buff death casters. Like, it's everywhere in the Death Army. So he could be casting this on, like, 4s quite quickly. If successfully cast, pick a visible model within 18 inches of the caster. Okay. I pick 1 model. Each enemy unit, not model, unit, within 6 inches of that model suffers a mortal wound, while the model's own unit suffers D3 mortal wounds.
Yep.
That turns into actually a pretty big radius, right?
Yeah.
Of just
especially if you target a really big unit.
Right. Well, you target a really big model or something, right? That broadcasts a big 6-inch radius around him, and you're just splashing mortal wounds everywhere. Like, this is a great thing to do to a hero in the middle of a bunch of different stuff. Like, you also just, if you suddenly are taking battle shock tests, right? Just because you did that, you can trigger all of a sudden they can start bleeding models out of a bunch of different units, right? Okay. And then finally, his command ability, which I think this guy's perfectly viable as a general. If he does it, then you pick a death unit within 15 inches until your next hero phase. You reroll hit and wound rolls of 1 for that unit. Perfectly respectable command ability, right? Applies to all death units. Who doesn't mind rerolling 1s? Seems pretty good. This guy is ridiculous at 160. He's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, he's not real survivable. Like, I understand the negating thing. Like,
look, he's a 5 wound hero. I get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
but
I will say this: if you're gonna put him up in the front line, like, I don't know. Like, he's gonna do a lot of damage, and so he'll earn his points.
You
back,
are
for sure.
You are way too sensitive about 5 wound heroes. Like, I do. You live in a world where 5 wound heroes just get picked off immediately. That's not the real world. Okay, it's not. I run 5 wound heroes almost exclusively as my generals, and you know what? They die rarely. Because, like, yes, this guy's going to be in it, but that doesn't mean he can't be in it intelligently, right? He doesn't have to necessarily be in it, like in the thick of a bunch of stuff. He could be moving around and controlling the combat, just and staying out of range of some casters. He's out of range of Arcane Bolt. He's ignoring a wound. He can heal wounds, right? Like, is he the toughest dude in the world? No. Is he tougher than your average 5 wound hero? Yes, absolutely. Is he a offensive threat who can also cast 2 spells around, who also has a good command ability and is pretty defensive? Yes. Is that a ridiculously good deal at 160 points? Also, yes. Like, you have to understand, Tom, this kills my soul.
Yeah.
Because Manfred is terrible and I hate him forever. But the reality is, he's such a good deal.
Yeah.
Like, my God, like a stupidly good deal. I don't know of any other single character at that, even close to that points cost, that can do all of those other things. Okay, there are certainly skew heroes around that points cost that might do one of those things way better, right? But he's like a solid 7 or 8 on most of those things.
Yeah.
Boils down. All right, you got your first loser for this round?
I've done one loser. Do you want me to do another one?
Yeah, sure.
So I hate to do this because, like, well, I mean, he probably doesn't count.
Okay. What do you got? Well, who's your loser, Tom? Where are you going?
Okay. So I'm actually going to pick Orion.
Orion. Yeah. All right, I'm ready. Bring up this scroll. Let's see Orion, the King in the Woods. I seem to remember this guy, and I'm not a huge fan of him either.
Okay, here you go. So yeah. Orion is so let's talk about Orion's stats, and then I'll tell you his points.
That's where this is going to all fall to pieces, but please continue.
Yes. Okay. So 12-inch move, 8 up wounds, or 8 wounds, 4 up save. Okay.
So solid. He has like perfectly solid.
Solid. He has a hawk that flies at 24-inch range and basically does 6 range attacks that are like decent bow shooty attacks at 1 damage each.
But that's good. It's got a rend on it, right? Anything that's a lot of range attacks and rend.
Yep. 6 attacks. Okay. He has a 12-inch ranged attack, 1 shot, 3 up, minus 2d3. So he has a 12-inch range bolt thrower. Okay.
Okay.
He has 4 melee attacks that are at 3 up, minus 2, 3 damage. He heals 1 in each hero phase. He can unbind 1 spell in each as if you were a wizard. And he can re-roll the dice.
Just unbind.
Just unbind. And you can re-roll the dice to determine the charge distance for him or other Wanderer units within 8 inches. So I mean that's okay. It's good utility for charging and stuff like that.
Sure. And
Obviously
Wanderers are still a mostly together faction where there are a lot of Wanderers around, so that's maintained.
Yep. And if he's the general, uses his ability, you can reroll wound rolls of 1 for Wanderer units that are within 16 inches when they attack the combat base, which is really good. Now Wanderers aren't generally melee, like it's not a heavy melee force. This is only combat phase. It's like Wanderers have a couple good melee units, like the Dragon and stuff like that. Like so they have some good ones. But on the whole, your Wanderers are not primarily like combat monsters. Like you don't have a go-to.
True, but I think you could design a force that is meant for combat. You could, if you're going to take this guy, assuming that you build around him, and there are some decent options for combat in Wanderer.
Give me. Your
I agree, they're not like kings. This guy, I honestly do not remember this guy's points. Other than I remember them being ridiculous when I read them.
So how much would you pay for this guy?
How much would you pay for this brand new Orion, King in the Woods? Given this guy's points and what he's rocking, right? He's clearly worse than Archaon. Like we just saw Archaon, right?
Yep.
And he is patently worse than Archaon.
Yeah.
Fair. Have decent range attacks.
I agree with that. Yep.
He has decent range attacks, which are good. He does have a nice amount of -2 rend, which is very powerful.
Yep.
Right. And he's got a decent buff to what he does to the rest of the army. So I'll say, we'll say I'll go high. All right. I'll give you the highest possible I would ever be willing to pay for this guy.
Okay.
280.
What?
280.
Okay, so 280 was actually my, like, if I were looked at that's actually what I guessed. Like, so when I was like, you know what I would pay for this guy, like, at 280, I don't think that he's a steal, but I think I could field him at 280.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
380.
So he's 60 points more than Archaon.
Yeah, 60 points more than Archaon, 100 more points than what either of us would reasonably field.
Right. Yeah, like this guy is not, no, he's not like at 380, you're in the range where you're up against like
Gordrak. No, I mean, not really, but
no. You're up against the slicer dicer out of TK, whose name escapes me because we're now on to 22 hours wake. Why can't I think of it?
Necrosphinx.
Thank you, the Necrosphinx. Good lord. Yeah, your Necrosphinx points. I mean, Necrosphinx is a 400-point monster, right? And it should be noted, this guy is a monster, as you pointed out previously.
All the downsides.
Yeah, all the downsides, none of the upsides. Yeah, he's an 8-wound monster. I don't mean that in the like, haha, he's a monster way. Okay, no, he has like he's gonna get surrounded by a group of bone splitters and just get his face kicked in, right?
Yes.
It's not a good combo for him. He's way too expensive for what he's capable of doing. Like, show me the world where this guy makes his points back. I don't know what that looks like.
You know how many Savage Orcs you would have to kill to get his points back?
All of them. All of the Savage Orcs.
There are 100 points for 10 of them.
Right.
Okay, at 2 wounds each. And so for him to get his points back, he would have to kill approximately 80 wounds worth of Savage Orcs.
Okay. Sure. Well, if he swings with everything and hits with everything every round, right? And all of it does damage.
Yes.
Then that should only take the entire length of the game, assuming he never dies, which he will, because he's an 8-wound hero with a 4-up save and no other defenses.
Oh, he's so terrible.
So he's pretty bad. This guy's a dead. This is a dead King in the Woods walking. Sorry, Lord of the Forest. Again, I do. This is another one that really pains me to. Oh, this I think an open play. If you don't have points or something going on, I think this guy is fun and fluffy and awesome.
Yep.
Part of a centered force. So if you're using any kind of like alt build structure, I think he's pretty great. Like, he does have the behemoth keep as well, I think.
Sure he does.
Yeah, so I mean, like, This guy is just literally the worst of all worlds.
Yep.
Right. And he activates every enemy's abilities to murder you.
Yeah, he needs to just leave that Spear of Kornos in Alariel's hands.
Compare him to just like a Spirit of Durthu, which is basically the same points.
Yep.
Ridiculous sword around, moving around, moving through woods, working with the other treatment, swinging 6 damage for 6 sword.
Is Durthu, is it the same stats as Durthu? Yeah. There you go.
Yes, it's the same stats as Durthu. There's a couple abilities that are slightly worded differently.
Yeah, he has like 12 range attacks at the top end.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just crazy. It's crazy.
This guy's 400 points. Yes. Well, again, -2, same rend, same 3-up, like, and Durthu only has 3 attack space, but he gets extra.
Yep.
When other things trigger and just, I mean,
Nope.
I agree. I love the Orion model. Both of them, actually. I have like the.
Vince, you're cutting out on me.
They're both great models. It's just a shame that they whiffed the worst. All right. So we're coming down to the end. So let's do the quick picks. Let's finish off on a final quick pick. We come to the end of the show here. Give me one more winner and loser. Give me both and why they're terrible and good.
One more winner.
And one more each?
One more of each. I can do that. Yeah, that's fine. Techless is my winner. Okay.
Shocker there.
He's 200 points to get 3 spells off a round. He has 3 spells off a round. He has a bonus to casting, so he's getting those spells off. And I think he has like a +3 or something stupid. And he has a utility spell that halves enemy movement. Yeah, so the utility spell, they suffer mortal wound half the distance of their move, run, and charge until your next hero phase. So he gets +3 to his I'm sorry, no, let me take that back. He has +2 to his casting and unbinding. If he rolls higher than 3 more than whatever the required number is, he can double the range of his spell that he casts.
Okay.
And because you remember, when you cast a spell, you don't have to declare a target when you cast a spell. So you attempt to cast a spell, and then you declare who your target is. So he can attempt to cast if he beats the value by 3, and he's getting +2 to this cast. Then he doubles the range of his spell. He is casting 3 spells around. The Tempest is base 18. If he doubles it, it goes to 36 inches. Does a mortal wound and halves all movement for that enemy unit. So he can basically lock a unit down and keep it away from combat for at least. He is going to slow them down at least 1 turn's worth. With that debuff. And it's probably worth mentioning he also knows all the spells from all other highborn within 16 inches. So that's not a lot of wizards, assuming that you're only playing.
And what's his cost again? What's Techless?
200.
Ridiculous. He's ridiculous.
So that's pretty good for 200 points. Like, he's a mini Nagash. So he's my winner.
Right, so what's your quick pick on worst? Yeah, sure.
Say what?
What's your quick pick on worst?
I would say my quick pick on worst is Sigvald. Nope. Sorry, Sigvald. Like, he has another dumb ability, and his best thing is to make a bunch of troops immune to battle shock because he looks sexy. His attack is like 6 attacks, doing 1 damage each. And on top of all that, he costs 120 points. Nope. Sorry, buddy. There's a reason why you get discontinued.
Is Throg. My quick pick.
You said your winner?
Yes. Okay. Now I know you're asking, Vince, are you out of your mind? Picking Throg.
No, I understand. He was a winner for me too.
Yeah, he's great. 6-inch move. Doesn't have a great save, but regenerates D3 wounds. He has a stupid vomit attack that's neg-2 Ren that does 2 damage. And he is the only thing I know of can automatically bonus and command ability bonus Chaos Ogres and Chaos Monsters, right? With pretty decent bonuses.
So
that is a rare thing.
Yeah, so yeah, what I would actually push on, like for me, what made him a winner, I would never make him a general. Okay. But the big winner here was the fact that Throg auto bonuses, auto grants a reroll hit to ones for Chaos Monsters within 8 inches. So like if he just follows Archeon around, Archeon suddenly gains reroll ones on all of his attacks.
Exactly. My thing with him is you don't actually take Archeon out of the picture because I don't want to. Archeon doesn't need to be a crutch. Well, he just makes Chaos Monsters more useful.
Right, like Glotkin, but I'm saying any of the big things, the super big things.
Yes.
He makes them more punchy.
I get it. I'm just saying it doesn't. You don't need to go that far, right? Like, don't make him your just that automatic ability because of the crown, right? That if he's just following around a Chimera, he's going to make it better. You have to go to like. You always go to these ridiculous special characters as though they're an auto-included in every force. 500 points, 600 points. Your people don't always want to play them. They're not always good to bring to every friendly game. Like, you have to say, like, you have to more or less talk to your opponent if you're going to bring Archeon, Grand Marshal of the Apocalypse. I don't just plop him down in a friendly game, okay? But I'll bring a Chimera to a friendly game or whatever, right? This guy turns those things very dangerous. And by the way, Chaos Trolls are also sweet. They're like pretty good. And again, he's doing all of this. There's no command, there's no activation to it. It's not a thing that fails. It's just he just does it. 160 points for what is a reasonable frame as it is, right? At 160, he's tough. He's got decent number of wounds, decent good attacks, good range attack. Like, he's fine even without that ability. I'm not saying he's worth his 160. I'm saying he's a good frame to build those abilities onto at 160.
Certainly.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and he's only like $104 on eBay right now.
Well, maybe convert up your own Chaos Troll. That's what I would say there. Troll, maybe do because that's all right. You ready? You ready for my quick pick loser?
Yeah.
Okay. Quick pick loser. Helebron.
Interesting.
Helebron. Helebron is terrible. She's garbage. She's 100 points. Okay.
Yep.
Which doesn't seem appropriate for like the Queen of Murder. She has 2 attacks at 3 up, neg 1, D3 damage. And 2 attacks at 3 up, 4 up, no Ren, 1 damage. Murder Queen spitting hot fire with 4 massive attacks. She is a 5 wound, 5 up save model. She can attempt to dispel 1 spell around. Cast. She has a warrior priest like prayer ability.
Yeah.
That if it's 2, she takes a mortal wound.
Yeah.
On a 3, she gets to do it. What is this amazing ability that she's just summoned, risked mortal wounding herself for? Well, units within 3 inches of her, this many inches of her, not 15, not 24, not 12, 3, okay, can subtract 1 from their bravery until your next hero phase. Okay. We've already discussed 20 other people tonight who are better at subtracting bravery.
Yeah.
Okay. Or if you don't want to do that, you can instead go for the Dance of Doom, where her save is increased to 3+ phase.
Yep.
Making her minorly defensive unless she meets anything that has any rend, or does mortal wounds, or just attacks her a lot, or looks at her funny. And then her command ability. Well, this better be amazing, right? This is where it's all going to come together. This is where it's all going to turn around, Tom. Are you ready?
Yep.
Are you ready for a command ability called the Orgy of Slaughter? Orgy of... Okay. If Hellebron uses this ability, pick an exile unit within 14 inches. That unit is gripped by a bloody frenzy and can be chosen to pile in and attack twice. Great. Great. Like, that's not a bad command ability. The Keeper of Secrets has it, the Slanesh Lord has it, that's all fine. But those aren't commands on a general, like you talk about putting 5 wound heroes because you're afraid they're going to evaporate. Let's talk about a 5 wound hero that's going to evaporate when something looks at her funny. Like you could attack this.
So this is what I would say. What makes this so offensive is the fact that the only true units that she can target that are not heroes right now are Harpies and Shades.
Right, exactly, because everybody else, like the Witch Elves, all lost that keyword.
Yeah, everybody lost the Exiles keyword. And so now the actual like legitimate only like she could target Malekith with it. That's the only one. Like that's the only big monster really. Almost everybody else is just junk. Regarding stats. The High Elves actually like they have enough named heroes and still units to actually like field a true High Elf force. The Dark Elves don't have that. They have Harpies and Shades.
Harpies and Shades. So there you go. Piling in and attacking twice in the combat phase. Look out for her power. Worthless. She's worthless. Like, she is hot Chinatown garbage. Let me tell you what. That's all she is, okay?
The irony is that you could actually include her in a Sisters, like a Covenant army, and give her the Sisters keyword. Okay? So she would get all the benefits of the current Daughters of, not Sisters, but like Daughters of Cain. Okay. So you could do that because she has the Death Cag keyword. So she could be included in the battalion, gain the keyword, all that. But the problem is that her abilities don't actually affect those units. Like, so she would gain the ward save, the T-shirt save, and she could pile in, be granted the extra pile in and all the benefits of that stuff. But she couldn't use her command ability.
Right. She could be granted that to the ability to pile in and attack twice with her amazing 4 attacks that do no damage.
Yep.
She's gonna, like, give me a break. She is ridiculously garbage. All right, so there you go. That brings us to the end. There's our picks for some best and worst out of the special characters in the compendium.
Can we add
your picks.
Can we add an addendum here?
Yeah, please.
We didn't qualify this appropriately at the beginning of the show. We chose consciously to not do Bretonnian, Bretonia, and to not do Tomb Kings. Yes, commenters, we all know that Cetra is the best hero for his points for what he's doing. We got that. We understand that.
Kings. He is amazing.
Yes.
Yes.
We understand.
The Hawk of Cameria.
And we agree. But we're going to do Tomb Kings as a separate show at a later date.
Right. Both Tomb Kings and Bretonia are big enough, and they remained whole enough that they deserve their own show. This was more of like, let's look across all the broken down, the remnants, and see if there's anything worth salvaging.
Yeah.
Find some old gems, dust them off, And obviously, it should go without saying, all of this is just our opinion, and we're idiots. So, hey, if you disagree with us, you're probably right, because you're probably smarter than us. We're dum-dums. There you go. So if you've got picks that you think we missed, put them down there in the comments. We want to see them. Point out some sweet special characters. Maybe you're a fan of old Tretch Craventail, or Craventail, or however you say him. So am I. That dude is super secret tech.
The Molder heroes. Those are big winners. Molder heroes, big winners. So you don't need to mention in the comments. Alariel, big winner, grants a battle shock bubble of 18 inches immunity.
She's great. There's a bunch we didn't touch on.
Yeah.
What I would say is go take a look at these older special characters, because I think one thing I want to address here at the end real quick is I don't think there's anything wrong with playing these old special characters out of the compendium who don't have any new version. Perfectly fine. I've seen some people look down their nose at them. Get out of here. I'm allowed to theme my army as an old world army anytime I want, right? I can have an army that was displaced through the warp and came through and is led by Treach Craventail. That's fine. It's your army. These are valid things. They've been pointed. They're perfectly legitimate. What do you think? You agree with that?
I completely agree. They are legal. Stop trying to prohibit other people's fun. Stop it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I don't understand why other people want to rain on other people's fun, especially with what are just basically a bunch of interesting, synergistic, 100-point, not that powerful heroes. That's what most of these guys are, right?
Archeon.
Yeah, I'm not saying there's not exceptions. There's the Archeon, the exception. But a lot of these are just interesting.
Yeah.
So there you go. And they give you fun alternate choices for additional leaders you wouldn't otherwise have. Because a lot of factions and sub-factions have one leader model. And it can get boring to have that same general every time. Dig into these special characters and pull up somebody new and bring your faction from the old world back to life, led by a long dead rat or orc or other assorted weirdo. There you go. Tom, any closing thoughts?
Nope, I think you hit it.
Coolio. Very good. Then for everybody out there, we thank you very much for watching. Like we said, we want to see those characters down below. And as always,